So this is an overview of my level for week one. The red box outlines what is considered short, the green box is the medium, and the remainder of the level is the long, the entire complete level. For data and results, only one playtester was able to complete one level within the target time. Everybody else was outside. A few of them were within 15 or 20 seconds, but most of the averages of those levels were pretty far off. The ratings for difficulty seem appropriate. They do get higher as the players go through the longer levels. And there were a couple of spikes, just depending on playtester to playtester, but they averaged out to pretty appropriate numbers. For common engagement concerns, the biggest one I heard was that they couldn't see what was below them. So there were some areas where they were encouraged to jump into gaps to continue progressing, and players tended to idle briefly or hesitate before completing those jumps because they couldn't see what was down through those gaps. We also had some concerns about aim sensitivity, which interestingly went in both directions. Most players complained it was too sensitive, although there was at least one playtester who thought it wasn't responsive enough. So that's something to look into. And then finally, the other big concern was feedback for picking up abilities specifically. Most players had no idea what happened when they picked up the um, jump ability. They are forced into a section where they have to double jump to get out of it, but even then, most of the time, they still kind of hesitated until they figured out what exactly that did. The dash was a little different because at least there's a widget that pops up in the top corner, but it goes away after a few seconds, and many playtesters didn't notice it the first time. For the B test, I took this top corner of the level here, which was empty at first, and I added quite a few more enemies to it. And the hypothesis was that adding those enemies to the platforming section would increase engagement and encourage further exploration. Again, players often hesitated because they are at the top of that section and have to drop through the gaps to continue progressing, and they couldn't see what was down below those gaps, so they didn't want to. And in fact, in two instances, the playtesters jumped across the first gap, found the spiked wall, and then asked what they were supposed to do next. Uh, the goal of the B version was to increase completion times by encouraging exploration and the desire to gain experience. I noticed players were actively engaging with the enemies, and so I thought by using them to sort of draw the players in and find these underutilized areas of the level in search of experience, it would cause them to explore more and end up with longer completion times. Ultimately, my hypothesis was only partially supported. Players did hesitate less and engage more with the gameplay in the B level. They actually stopped talking to me more while they were playing and fighting the enemies, and they were significantly more willing to jump into those gaps when they could see an enemy roaming below because they at least knew there was a platform that they could stand on there. Um, Interestingly, though, completion times technically dropped by a second. This could be skewed by some kind of high completion times from more inexperienced players. This is also something that would benefit from more playtesting just to get more accurate averages and eliminate some of those outliers. But also, interestingly, the average difficulty was rated higher on B, presumably because there were more enemies. So that does make sense. So my overall takeaway for this is that the difficulty just needs to be toned down so that players can progress faster, and or some of the level needs to be cut out to make them shorter. Um, and in doing so, I also need to expand on the player facing information so that they know what pickups they're collecting and what it does when they do collect it and how to use it. Um, some areas of the level were a little choked by long or slow platforms, so I could replace those with multiples to allow the player to, instead of waiting for it to travel all the way, you jump on one, it goes halfway, and then jump onto another. Um, I could also use more enemies or more coins to help guide the players around and adjust the camera tracking and field of view, or give the player an option to move the camera themselves so they can see what's below them before jumping into blind gaps.